First, we'll start with the Bucs minicamp, where you and Pete and field producer Dane took in a day of action. As you explained it to me on the drive back, it was extremely hot, and it looked like Dane had the lights cranked up to 10,000. So it wasn't only 100 degrees; it was 200 degrees. Watching you guys in HQ. Let's start at the top. This isn't necessarily draft related. You have to go back a few years for it to be draft related. But the first overall pick back in 2018, I believe, Baker Mayfield is now the quarterback. A few years ago, they did draft Kyle Trask out of Florida in the 3rd round. How is this going to shake out? It feels like Baker's probably the guy because Kyle Trask really hasn't gotten any opportunities, and they keep bringing in new guys. I know you can't tell a whole lot from minicamp at this time of year, probably more so with just the players throwing the football than anything else. But any takeaways for about Baker?
Yeah, no, we had an opportunity to interview Baker as well. And there's no question about the chip on his shoulder, because if, you look over the last couple of years and it's been disappointing. But before that, he was almost living up to the billing of being the number 1 overall pick. Got Cleveland into the playoffs, and then got injured. Then he's hit a few road bumps along the way. And we asked him why Tampa, and he thought that was not only the best opportunity for him now, but for the future. And he's looking for a place where he can, hopefully play well and finish out his career and play to the level of expectations that were placed on him when he was the number 1 overall pick. But there's no question about, he's very confident, not arrogant, but he also understands that, like I said, you can see it. The way he expresses it is that he's really out to prove to people that he is the Baker Mayfield that was a first overall pick a few years back. So, but when you watch him on the field, watch the new offense that Tampa Bay is running, even though you're just watching them throw the ball, but they were running 11 on 11. It was mini camp. So they were having pretty much a normal type practice while we were down there. But he has a really good feel for the offense. There's no question that he is in command down there. I mean, you can tell about his leadership, the way he walked around the field, the aura about him, and the players, I think, believing in him. And I just noticed the one thing that I noticed was when he was throwing to the receivers, like I noticed Mike Evans kind of always be in his line when Baker was throwing, and he was Mike caught a couple from the other as well. But you can tell that even though they say it's an open competition, the way that the feel that I got while I was sitting there watching that, there's no question Baker will be the starting quarterback, barring any injury.
So here's the thing with Baker Mayfield. He's a guy I actually pull for, and I feel like he's made not a transformation so much, but he's just matured, because when he came out, there were concerns about his maturity, right? And the sort of the things we like to poke and prod these players about because we have nothing else to do between January and late April. And there were the issues. I think he got in trouble off the field, ran away from cops or something. I can't remember what it was. But it feels like, do you feel like he's matured? Were those issues not an issue for you at the time? Or like, where are you on your Baker spectrum of maturity?
Yeah, no, he's definitely matured. You can tell that. Everybody matures. Everybody does, except for myself and probably Debo. Everybody else probably did a few dumb things in college that probably was like, what the heck was I thinking? Now,
by the way, quickly, sorry to interrupt you, Rick, but let me just tell a quick story. On Monday, I had jury duty. I didn't get selected, but you had to fill out a bunch of forms. And one of the forms was, have you ever been arrested? I had to say yes. I got arrested in college for trying to buy beer underage. And the what we call the ABC, Alcohol Beverage Control Virginia, was there waiting for me in the parking lot as a 20-year-old. So yes, I have done things that Baker Mayfield might have gotten in trouble for. You and Debo are the exception. Go ahead.
Is that why you have that hard edge to you? All that prison time you spent?
Yeah, I would not last 2 minutes in prison.
I knew there was something about you, that hard edge to you, or that. Whatever that is, it's now I understand. I mean, that's something when we traveled together for so many months, and basically I saw you more than I saw my wife.
I know, right?
Which she was pretty excited about that I got a break from her.
Look at Debo with a McLovin gift. If you're watching on YouTube, how dare you, Debo?
That's not what you looked like back when you were 20.
Yeah, that's what I look like. Same hairdo and everything. McLovin from Is that Pineapple Express? What's that from? Not Pineapple Express. That's the other one.
Super bad.
Super bad. Thank you. All right, go ahead, Rick. Sorry to interrupt you, but Baker's matured.
Yeah, no, and like I said, watching him, he threw the ball very well, looked completely healthy. Now it's different once you got, real football going around and making decisions and things like that. But I was very impressed with the command he had of that offense and just the aura that he had walking around the building and that leadership. And I think that he is definitely going to be the guy in Tampa after seeing that live.
And I think part of that, how you feel about him, obviously, it's not because of what happened in Carolina, but probably because of what happened with the Rams, where he just showed up one day. The next day he played. They actually won that game, I believe, on prime time and showed the ability to bounce back. And even going back to Cleveland, you sort of touched on this. It felt like, and I don't know the reasons, but it felt like once he got injured, they beat the Steelers in the playoffs that one year. They came back. There were high expectations. He suffered some shoulder. He had the shoulder injury, and it felt like they got away from running the ball with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and leaned on Baker trying to throw the ball late in the year. And he just kept taking hit after hit after hit, and it just felt like that marriage was going to dissolve sooner rather than later. So it does feel like he's the guy that you want here. Kyle Trask, I'll ask you this, and then we'll talk about the offensive line. Kyle Trask could outplay Baker Mayfield now and even into August, and I still feel like you're leaning on Baker because you can trust him more. Do you agree with that or no?
Yeah, no. I wasn't a huge Kyle Trask fan when he came out. He's a tall pocket passer. He has a strong arm. But like I said, when you get an opportunity to see these guys just live and how they operate in the huddle and how they're operating in this new offense, and Dave Canales, the new offensive coordinator that came from Seattle, who was the quarterback coach there for a long time, getting his first opportunity to call plays on the sideline. But what he was, what he did with Geno Smith last year and kind of resurrected Geno Smith's career. So I think the vision is, a lot of it is, can they replicate that in Tampa with Baker Mayfield? The issue is that they have to be able to run the ball. Last year, they were one of the worst in the league at running the football, but you also had Tom Brady, who threw the ball 40 times a game at 45 years old, which made no sense to me. Hence the change in offensive coordinator and quarterback. But I think if they have a very good defense, I think they had 8 of their starters back. I think that if their offense can start clicking, and when you watch the offense, there's a lot of play action, a lot of things that Seattle did. And one of the things that made Seattle's offense go a lot was they had some pretty good running backs that could run the ball. And then they built that, and what Russell Wilson had and even Geno Smith had last year, establishing the run game to take the shots and make big plays down the field. So I think that is critical for them as they go forward. But if they can get that going and kind of replicate something where no one really gave Seattle much of a chance last year. So Tampa's offense last year was last in rushing, and they were last in big plays, throwing down the field of plus 20 yards, if you want to call those big plays, in any capacity, passing or running. So I think if they're able to establish a running game, and one of the breakout players that I liked coming out of college, Rashad White, and if he's able to do and replicate what he did against Seattle when he had his opportunity, last year he was behind Fournette, so he never really got to be the lead dog. But if he's the way they were using him, not only running the ball but catching the ball out of the backfield, he looks like he is going to be one of those breakout players in his second year as well.
So here's the question from Aiden. Could they bring in someone like Carson Wentz?
No.
Debo says no.
Absolutely no.
Absolutely no.
No. I had an opportunity to spend some time with some people down there. I think the one thing that you have to realize is that they are in a pretty significant cap situation.
Right.
So when Tom Brady came out of retirement, last year, they pushed a lot of money out into the credit card this year.
Mm-hmm.
So when he retired this year, they have 35 million in dead money, which means,
And then it escalates immediately, right?
yes. So
Yes.
that 35 million dead money got dumped into this year, which is higher than 25 teams in the NFL in dead money. And then Donovan Smith and some of the other moves that they had to make this off season, I think they're at 74.3 million in dead money, which is by far the highest in the league. So I thought Jason Light did a phenomenal job on the draft that he was able to get. And we'll talk about some of those guys. But to still Jamel Dean, they were able to re-sign. Yeah. And Levante David, they were able to re-sign their defense. So they have a lot of their guys back. The one thing that I would be concerned about a little bit is pass rush. Shaq Bennett, who tore his Achilles, did not look like he is anywhere near ready to go yet. Just watching him rehab on the sideline. So that, they're going to have to generate some pass rush, but they're moving Antoine Winfield back to safety, which is natural position. Last year they played him at Nick,
right?
And he got hurt and banged up a lot, so they put him back at safety. So I think their defense is going to be pretty good.
Well, let me ask you this before we
go
to that side. Let's go back to the offense, because you mentioned how they got Dave Canales, the quarterbacks coach of Seattle, had a lot of success with Geno Smith. A lot of that credit goes to Geno, obviously, but also the Seahawks drafted Charles Cross and Abe Lucas in that draft, who were both starters, bookends, left and right tackle. The offensive line in Tampa is a little different story, as is the running game. They had Ken Walker III. You talked about Rachaad White. Quickly, just give me 10 seconds. I'm going to give you my Rachaad White comp. I mentioned it to him at the Combine a few years ago. I'll tell you his reaction. I want to get your reaction. My comp for Rachaad White, and I mentioned this to him, I said, you remind me a little bit of Cordero Patterson.
No, absolutely not.
That's what he said. All right, moving on.
Can we move on even like next year? That your comps, can we talk about them before we actually say them on the air?
Yeah, we'll devote a show to.
Although I do respect all the hard work and energy and effort that you try to come up with comps.
So, all right, going back to the offensive line. So they drafted Cody Mock, one of our favorites from the Senior Bowl. We talked about the Combine. He's a great guy, hard worker. He has short arms. They have him penciled in at right guard right now. Ryan Jensen's the center. Matt Filer, who's bouncing around from Pittsburgh to the Chargers, is at left guard. They're moving Tristan Wirfs, their former first-round pick, from the right side to the left side. He's an athlete. He could play quarterback if you wanted to. I'm not concerned about that. But Luke Gedeke could also be an issue. So tell me about that offensive line. And Baker has plenty of experience playing behind offensive lines to get him banged up.
Yeah, I think if they can stay healthy, they were pretty excited about the offensive line. Wirfs looked like a natural left tackle, even though he's been a Pro Bowl, numerous Pro Bowl player on the right side. A lot of people even looked at him as a left tackle because he was on the right side, I believe, at Iowa when he came out, but saw the athletic ability to play left tackle. So I think that'll be a smooth, easy transition for him. Gedeke struggled at guard last year. He started at left guard. I think that tackle will be better. That's what he played in college. So hopefully he will be able to play better, but they're excited about his progress in year two. Malk, I think the biggest concern is he going to be able to anchor versus the power rush in line? There's no question about the athleticism and the demeanor to finish blocks. And then the biggest one, who was out there practicing. And last year when we were at training camp, when I was there with Pete, that's the day that Jensen went down with that significant injury that ended his season. Now he tried to come back in I think the playoff game, but he looks, he was very limited practicing. But if that group can stay healthy, I think it's going to be good enough to function.
All right, well, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll tell you which player, undrafted free agent, stood out to Rick, one of the guys we loved during the pre-draft process, right after this. All right, Rick, we talked about Cody Mock, their second-round pick. Kalijah Cansey went in the first round, the interior defensive lineman out of Pitt. They drafted Trey Palmer, the speedy wide receiver out of Nebraska. But someone they didn't draft, and someone that we talked about a handful of times down the stretch on the old podcast here, stuck out in your mind. Safety Christian Idzian out of Rutgers. He was undrafted. He played some of the slot at Rutgers, played in the box. He can play deep if you want him to. 5'8.5", 197. He looks like a spark plug out there. Ran a 4.42. I thought he might go day 3. He didn't go day 3. He went undrafted. But tell me what you saw from him in the one day you guys were out there.
Yeah, they've been working at him at least the day I was there. Now, who knows? There's a long way to go for the opening game, but they were working him a lot, rotating him in there with the first defense with the nickel at the nickel position. Everything that you've seen on tape, the thing that stuck out the most on tape is his physical ability and his aggressiveness. Loves to play the game. But they were in a red zone drill. He had a picked interception in the red zone drill. And he's kind of been, again, we're just talking about in shorts right now and running around. We got a long way to go yet. But he was one of the guys that they mentioned. And the day we were down there, stuck out. And he may end up potentially being their starting Nick before it's said and done.
Wow. I'm looking at my notes here. I said if he were 6'1", 200 pounds, he'd probably be a top 50 player. We'll see if that's a little too ambitious. But you and I both liked him in the process. His teammate Christian Braswell was a really good player at Rutgers as well. He's in a mini camp. I have to check where. But they had some players on that team. It's amazing that they struggle so much winning football games consistently in the Big Ten. All right. What we got, Debo? We got some gambling notes here. Regular season wins.
Ooh.
All right. Over 6.5, you'll make yourself a little money. If you bet $10, you'll win $12, Rick. Under 6.5, you bet $10. You bet $14 to win $10. I think that math is right there.
Well, why do you, I don't understand, again, because of the gambling, you can see how hard so if I pay $14, I get $10 back.
Because that means it's more likely to happen in the eyes of the odds makers.
Then why would I bet that? Why would I lose $4?
You think because you think they're gonna win fewer than 7 games.
So if I said, let me understand this gambling thing here.
You would get $24 before you start asking. You won't get just $10.
Right. Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah. They're not gonna take. Right. That's right. You bet $14, you get your $14 back plus the $10.
Okay.
This was a mistake, Ryan.
Yeah, my bad.
My God. Don't gamble, Ryan. Yeah.
I forgot to do the math.
No, I said this was a mistake for me to pull this up.
So, Rick, forget about the plus and minus numbers. Just tell me, and I know you got friends everywhere, so you got to be nice, but put on your analyst hat here. This Buccaneers team in this division, which isn't a great division, but over 6.5, under 6.5, what strikes your fancy?
Oh, I'm going to definitely go over 6.5. I think they're going to be battling New Orleans to win the NFC South.
Wait a second. So now Atlanta, Des Ridder, second-year quarterback. We have to see about that. But they have all those playmakers. They got better on defense. They fill some needs in free agency on defense, even if they weren't able to draft those players. Are they going to win fewer or more games than the Bucs?
Who?
The Falcons.
I'm going to go lean towards Tampa until Ridder proves it. Now, I know Baker Mayfield's got to prove it, but I think Tampa's defense is pretty good. And if they can, like I said, establish the run game and do offensively what they were able to do in Seattle, if Canales, the new OC, can replicate that, they're going to surprise some people. I was surprised when I went down there and watched. I'll just say that.
All right. Well, I can't wait to hear what you say when you go to see Bryce Young in Carolina. You're going to have them winning 17 games.